What is going on, everybody? Luke here, and today we're going to be going over Q4 restock limits and storage volume. So you may have seen an email that it gets sent every quarter, I believe, and it basically says if your IPI, Inventory Performance Index, the sort of measure of how well your stock's doing and all that kind of thing, if it's under 500, then you won't have unlimited storage. You'll then be given a designated amount of space rather than unlimited. And I just want to talk to you about me actually being under that 500. I've been under that 500 for like all year or something, or since like Q2 probably. And I'll talk a bit about why I've been under it, but I'm not going to be able to get that above 500. It's 477. Not going to be able to get it over 500 for by what is it, end of next month or something. But I'll talk over that, and then I'll also show you what my storage volume now is, now that it's actually adjusted to be not unlimited. So obviously you want to be able to see what the impact would be if you do fall under that by, I think it's the end of September for Q3, of course. And obviously it ties into restock limits as well, because obviously if your restock limit isn't that high anyway, then what's the point of having unlimited storage? So it's kind of a bit of an unusual thing, because the storage volume has always really been there, and then there was the restock limits with the sort of reductions, and so it's kind of like, well, can't send, a lot of people might say I can't send a lot of stock in anyway, so why does it really matter? But I'll give you my overall, and I'll drill into it, and I'll give you a little example and stuff, and I'll show you some stuff. But let's get started. So restock limits. So I've noticed that my maximum inventory level has massively gone up. I think the lowest it was at was like 8,000, and it's now 15.5, and you can see the amount of space I've got now. I had like 18,000 units before this whole thing sort of blew up, and there was restrictions. I've now got it down to about, I think I got it down to 5,000. It's now at 6.2, and I'm now ramping up stock again because I got a massive void of 9.5 grand available. I like to leave a little bit sort of available. I won't push that I won't push the maximum. So if next week it changes again, I'll obviously adjust. But I've got plenty of space right now, so I'm just going for it. And obviously I'm preparing for Q4, because next week is September, and that's basically when you got to prepare for Q4, or for me anyway, because my goal is £1 million sales in Q4. It's my goal. So of course I've got to be preparing way in advance for not everything, because obviously I do have restock. I have limits. I only have 9,500 another to ship. Selectively, I'm going to be pushing that side of things with my top sellers, that day-to-day top sellers. So, we start here. So you can kind of see this is looking good. And obviously, you're going to have to look at your own restock limits and kind of use that as a measure as well, looking into the storage volume. So you may think, well, what's my storage volume, for next period? Because, how's it going to impact it? If it's not unlimited, will I be able to have a good Q4? It's probably what a lot of people are thinking. Well, if you go ahead and look at my cubic usage at the moment for 6,200 units is 464 spot or .72. So, and my next period storage limit is 5,000. So I can basically do 10x and a bit what I'm currently doing. And so looking at this, I think last Q4, my maximum amount of inventory I had at any one time is about 20,000, maybe 22,000. And yeah, every year I like to increase that. Obviously, at the moment, I have a maximum overall inventory level of 15,666. So I can never, unless this goes up before, up to October. So I don't know if it will, and I think it might a bit, because this has gone up quite a lot in the last month, and I haven't really had a massive amount of utilized quantity here, and so it's giving me the breathing space even though I'm not pushing that limit, which is interesting. So I can see it maybe going to like 18,000 for Q4, which is plenty, because I'll know how to basically factor that side of it in, obviously that threshold limit, because last year as well there was a lot of maximum 200 for ASINs. So if you had never really got much traction on on sales, you would have a 200 limit anyway. You could never send in more than 200 at one time. And so if there's products that I knew that I could sell 1,000 of, I just couldn't do anything about it. I had to sell 200, so I had to send in 200, sell 50 in a day or whatever, send 50 more in. But I was hindered by that, and obviously it takes time to book it in, so I was losing a lot of sales that way. And now that there is not that on specific items, I can now focus a lot more on that side of things for myself, and so obviously that means there's a high turnover of stock. So if I sell 2,000 units a day, of course tomorrow I can send in, or tonight I can send in 2,000 more. So this limit isn't too important. It needs to be high enough to send in thousands of product, thousands a lot, 500 of this, 500 of that, 200 of that, 500. obviously I need to have space to send that initial batch in. But then when I'm potentially selling 50 a day, 100 a day, 200 a day, whatever it ends up being, obviously tomorrow I can go and replenish that same amount of stock. And so even though I have a 15,000 limit, if I sell 3,000 today, and then I can obviously send 3,000 in tomorrow and 3,000 the day after, and so on and so on. Well, that's, over the month, that's like 80,000 units or whatever it ends up being. And so that's why this inventory level is not so important, but you need to have enough space to send that initial batch and to build that traction. And not only that, when you build that traction, this should then go up because it sees that you're selling good products and you need that space for extra stock to sell more, which then gives Amazon their money anyway. So, but you can see here, I have plenty of space. So even though I got 477 limit, I got plenty of space. I basically can send like 65,000 units. With this, of course, I can't because I can send 15 in. And so overall, it's not even, I don't really even give a shit about this basically. And I've had this for like a couple of Q3 now, Q2, since Q2. So, I think you can see what my previous was, but I don't even, 1,000's plenty. Well, not 1,000, maybe like 2,000. So I can cut that in half. I can get my IPI score down to like 450. I don't know what will happen on the 450, but because I don't know if that's like the next tier down of being like a really crap account or something. But yeah, so you get a little bit of a feel for what I've got. But of course, if you have a 1,000, if you have like 1,500 and 1,566 inventory, so it's 10 times less max, because maybe you're a smaller seller, obviously in theory that could be 10 times less, so it could be 500 cubic feet, because obviously it's scaled against your account. So if your account is 10 times smaller, all of this information should maybe show 10 times smaller for you as well. But again, if you're 10 times smaller, it doesn't, this is still in relation to this good. Yeah, you could still send in potentially a lot more stock, but you get what I'm going at. Let's jump on to what the hell my 477s even talk about. So last 7 days, basically this number never changes. For the last month, it's never even moved. Look, you can see trailing 3-month summary. I basically moved like 3 points down or 4 points. Oh no, I remember I went up 1 point at one point. At one point, I went up 1 point. You can see it's basically done nothing. You can see there. There it is. There's that little 1 point. And mostly it's because of what I've been doing is I've been trying to sell out of my higher stock products. So I had so many fast selling lines that I had plenty of, because I was buying wholesale, I was buying discounted if you buy more. So I was buying 3 months worth of supply. Then there was a lot of problems obviously with buy box suppressions, and then there was the seller fulfilled prime, which was getting the buy box but at like way cheaper, because you had to buy a minimum of like 3 or 5 quantities, so that was suppressing the buy box for normal FBA sellers, or it was keeping us out of the buy box. And so there was a lot of weird stuff that went on this year. There was the restock, there's been like so many. If you ride out this year and you come out successful and you're ready for next year, all and more to you, because like this has been just like, it's been a little bit extreme, but that's going to happen after like an absolutely mental and a crazy year last year, where everyone could basically just make money by chucking in, closing your eyes and just chucking stuff in. So you're going to have the ups and downs. Like you have to be aware of that, and that's normal. Like you're just like living life. Like you might go out tomorrow and forget your car keys or whatever, your wallet. So all kind of things are normal anyway. They're day-to-day stuff or year-to-year things. So stranded, no one really cares. FBA in stock rate. You know what? This is really weird, because I always like to keep a good stock limit in, but I think the reason this is quite low is because what I've been doing is I've been focusing on just leaning down my inventory. So obviously my FBA in stock rate isn't going to be as good as it could be, because I'm just leaning down the inventory, not only to free up space for Q4 as it comes, because I didn't know what my restock limits would actually end up being, because obviously this was at 8,000 at one point, and I'm like, well, I need to free up space for Q4. You got to prepare, because you don't know this is going to go up. So I was definitely preparing for that, and there's a lot of stuff that just takes time. I think I had 800 listings in Amazon. I now have removed a lot, and I've basically just moved those listings to a spreadsheet to try to lean down the whole sort of system, so that almost everything is a lot cleaner. But everything takes time to get good stock limits back in. If you send in 100 or something today, you're selling 30 tomorrow, and then by the time and so obviously that's moving. You might go out of stock on a handful of those products, and so it takes a good month to 2 months just to get a nice balance of stocking again on all your good sellers, as well as now that I'm getting prepared for Q4, I'm adding a lot of new listings, which are then taking time to get sent in. And so obviously I have a listing in Amazon, but it's saying I'm out of stock because I am, and all those little things take into consideration. So this is never ever really that amazing for me. Even when I was doing crazy sales last year, this was still really high. because I had such a broad spectrum of listings. If I had 1,000 listings, okay, 370 are out of stock, yeah, that kind of thing. But that's fine because I have, and yeah, they'd be replenished as and when I am able to. Maybe I can't on some, maybe it takes, the pallets haven't booked in, and so that's actually not so bad. Obviously the sell-through is going to be impacted with the excess, because I have stock now, which is going to take because a lot of listings have recovered, but they're not as good as they were because a lot of stuff has changed. So I'm selling through them, but because obviously I don't want to recall 400 units of whatever, and then 200 of that. When am I going to store it? So I'm keeping it in there for now, and I'll burn through that by beginning of next year, which is a bit crap. But it's only on like 5 listings or something now. I got rid of all the rest. Yeah, but that'll be, for every 100, that's 5% if you're selling on 100 ASINs, which is decent, 5%. Obviously you want that like 1%, but it's higher, but there's been a lot of changes this year. And so for me, this isn't so important when you do get to the point where you're scaling in the right fashion. So I wouldn't be too worried about, oh my God, what would the limit be? And yeah, it might be completely, different for you. I don't know until you actually see the results. I don't know until that moment comes, but just looking at what mine is, I could send in, even if I doubled last year, let's say, I would want to be sending in 40,000 units. Of course, I'm stuck here. So I'm going to, like, for example, I can store stuff in a warehouse, buy it in advance and store it and then send it in later, or send it in as fast as possible, but I've already got the stock ready, that kind of system. And yeah, I think that it's just an interesting thing to look at someone else's account and just kind of get a bearing for what if this happens, and then you could basically see, okay, well, you could find out on what scale your maximum inventory level is, and work out a potential storage limit. Let's say it was 10%, your maximum inventory level is 10%, well then divide that by 10, 543 cubic feet, and that's in theory what yours could be if your score is around the same. And so that's kind of like, you can do some scenario planning, and that might be something useful for people that are maybe under that limit and just curious to see what it will be if a certain situation arises. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there, so hopefully you enjoyed it and you get some insight into my account and the way that I see this. Anyway, have a nice weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.